Hey guys, this is Grace and welcome to my channel and welcome to the first episode or first video for the double page layout mini series that I'm doing. So as you remember in my intro video, I said that it's going to be a double page layout, but then it's also going to have a little bit of a twist wherein I am going to do a recipe or follow a recipe from various places to do my or to get the inspiration for my double page layout. So the first place that I found inspiration from is Club Scrap. I was introduced to them a few months ago when I watched a video from Scrapbook Expo where they were showing, or the owner was showing, how they scrapbook. And basically what it is that she has you go through the cutting of all of the papers and then the putting together of the layout. So I kind of created a little bit of pros and cons about each of these recipes, just pros and cons for me anyways, that I found as I was working on it. So you might enjoy my little tidbits about this, you might not, but I'm going to share it anyways. But before that, let me just explain that this is going to be an Easter type of layout, and so I am following the cutting guides. That's why I'm kind of stopping, because I was looking at my laptop where I have the cutting guides. This is an older formula. They call it page formula, I believe, and this is an older one because now you have to pay for it, but I guess a few years back they would give the page formulas in their blog for free. So that's where I got this specific information. So anyways, the pros about the Club Scrap recipe or their way of scrapbooking is that the cutting and the design is done for you. Now this is really good if you like to make base pages, because then you just have to follow somebody else's ideas, and you don't have to think it through. I also really like that there's not much scraps, so no paper is wasted. There, in the original recipe, there were two 8.5 by 11s that we were going to use, and then the rest is cardstock. And instead of the 8.5 by 11s, I used some scraps of big scraps of pattern paper. And so I have a few more scraps than intended, but that was because I didn't use the exact size of the paper that they wanted us to use, or they wanted me to use. But I like my pattern papers, and so I decided to use that here. Also, another thing that I really like was that you get to try, or I got to try different size photos. I don't normally, the normal size that I use is 3x4 and 4x6. Well, with this one, there were some squares. I think it was 2-inch squares. These big mats on the right side are, I think, for 5x6 or something big like that, something a little bit wider. And then the ones on the left, the three bigger mats, were for, I think, a 3x5 or something like that. So it made me use different sizes. Another thing that I like is that there's an allowance for personalization. So you can dip into your stash more to match and coordinate, which I really like. It's not too strict in that regard. One of the ways that I was able to personalize it was that if you notice that blue strip that was going all across horizontally on my right side, it was a little too boring for me, and also the blue kind of just blends with that blue matting, and so I pulled some of the leftover paper from one of the pattern papers and then put that on there, and I like that one better. Now I'm just moving things around, but basically this is what the page is going to look like, except that I will be adding some circles here and there. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to ink the edges. Again, this is part of the personalization that I'm going to be doing for this layout. And then I'm just going to do all of that on the pattern papers. I'm not going to bother doing it on the cardstock, but I will be doing it on the pattern paper. So a few things, the cons, or the things that didn't quite impressed me with this style is that it is just not my style. I find it hard to work with because I like a certain way, and it was kind of hard to get out of my comfort zone. That is not to say that this particular technique or style is not good. It's just, it wasn't my style, so it was harder to work with. Also, I had to use a lot of layers, and I'm not used to that. I matte my photos, I do, but once just once in a while when I think that it needs it, that it needs to make it stand out. But all of the layers were a little bit confusing for me, especially with that pattern paper matting. It was just, yeah, it was hard for me to work with. And then it took a little bit longer than my usual because there were a lot of moving things around because it wasn't my vision. And then also I had to pull and pick photos. Now, if you like to do base pages, I think this will be great because then the page is done. You don't have to worry about it. But I'm the kind of scrapper that I like to pick my photos and then use my photos as part of the design process. And so that took a little longer just because when I started this, I didn't know what photos I would be able to use with it. And so I ended up using some Easter ones. Oh, I'm showing you here that, or I was showing rather, that I had punched a border on one side of that blue paper just to kind of make it a little bit closer to my style. And then I'm going to mat that pink paper. Again, I like that the thinking and the cutting is all done for you, so you don't have to think about that. But again, it was just not my style, so it took longer. I would say that this took close to an hour or maybe a little bit more, and my usual time frame for scrapbooking or putting together double page layouts would be about 45 minutes, and that is when I create my own design, and that's also when I put a lot of photos. So that is just a few notes that I have for this particular style of scrapbooking, which is club scrap. So let's go on with the layout. Now it's basically just sticking the photos and the papers on there. I decided that I'm gonna do some Easter hunt photos for this, just because the color scheme that I picked out kind of blends with it. And also one of the papers that I use, I think it's this one, but the other side is there's like Easter theme on the paper itself. So that's why I picked it. One of the things though that I'm going to kind of give you a tip, if you are going to use their page formulas and then you're going to pick papers from your collection, most of the papers that they pick is mostly cardstock. So if you're going to use pattern paper, I suggest using some of like stripes or multicolored paper, just so that they will have more colors to introduce to your page. So as I've already told you, my usual colors, or no, rather my usual sizes of photos are more 4x6 and 3x4s. And so the mats on the right side was hard to match with, and so what I did was I decided to double mat those photos so that I can actually put two 3x4 photos. And I did have to crop those photos just because they're too long, and they would, if both of them were put in there, they would make it they wouldn't fit that piece. Now I'm showing you how I made my own embellishments here. I have a stamp from Lawn Fawn that has some bunnies and chicks, and I thought that was really fun, and so I stamped that stamped them and colored them in. For my title, I'm going to go do Happy Hunting, and I'm just going to marry a script font along with a classic or a sans serif font there. And I'm using my stash here, friends. So this really made me happy because I'm pulling out items from my stash. Didn't have to buy anything new here. So that was really making me happy. So another thing that I was going to tell you about the photos was that it just made me sad because I had that really pretty pattern paper, and then I'm going to end up covering it with mats or cardstock and photos anyway. So I was trying the photos, the sets of photos on the right side. They were matted singularly, like they were matted in separately, while the other was I had a big pink cardstock and then I matted them both on the same paper. And so I'm trying to figure out if I can find a way where I can move one of those photos somewhere else in on my page so that I can use that. So what I'm actually going to do is I am going to move that photo down and cover some of that block there. And I mean, we still see the papers, but then I leave that flower part open so that you can see the pattern. I don't know. Let me know in the description box below. Did you think that my idea of showing more of the paper was a good idea, or should I have just left that area covered with pattern paper? And so going back to my style of scrapbooking, I like to have a definition on the edge of my pages. I really like having a border, and I usually do that with layering of papers. But this time I've already created the papers, or I've already made the page, and so I couldn't really like cut them down. And so I decided to just create a hand or pen lines all around my page just to give it a border, just so that I will have a definite end for the layout. And I gotta tell you, I really like those bunnies and those chicks. I'm glad that I have them, and I'm glad that I was able to use them on this layout. I think I believe I'm going to add a few more embellishments here, but it's pretty much done. I am going to add, so that blue part on the top right, that is where my embellishment is going to be housed. I'm just going to put that there, and you won't see me do that, but I will print my journaling and then cut them up in strips and then add them over on that side. And then I am going to add a few more embellishments here. I found this border sticker that I thought was really cute, and again, there's a lot of empty spaces in this design, and so I like to fill them in, not because I don't like the pattern paper or the cardstock that I use in the background, but I just like my page to look full. I don't like it to look empty, and so I'm gonna add a few more things here and there. And I picked some stickers that have a spring and Easter theme so that I can add that to my layout. And these are just pictures of my children egg hunting, Easter egg hunting back in Easter of 2020. This was when we were in the middle of our quarantine, and it actually, we did this on the Saturday before Easter, because we found out, or I found out that afternoon, that we were going to have snow the following day. And so I figured it wouldn't be fun for the kids, although we've done it before, but it won't be fun for the kids to hunt inside the house, and it would be really cold to hunt outside. And so I figured last minute, it was a good thing that our boiled eggs were already colored, and then our plastic eggs were already filled, and so I just had them do the egg hunt right before dinner of the day before. So it worked out, and I really like that. So that's out of the way, and it wouldn't be part of the chaos of Easter. But anyways, that is my layout for today. There will be some close-up shots at the end of this layout if you have, or at the very end of this video. If you have any questions, let me know in the description box below. I hope that you are excited for this series. I am, and I will catch you guys another day. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section below, and I'll try to answer it as fast as I can. Until then, I'll see you and have a great day. Bye.